I'll just explain a little bit about what the Small Business Development Center is, and then we'll just jump right in. Questions is the come method, right? If you have a question about anything that I'm talking about, put your hand up, blurt it out, whatever it is. Get it answered or get you contact. Sound good? So the Small Business Development Center, we are an event funded program through the University of Wyoming. Our two biggest kind of funding partners, if you will, is the Wyoming Business Council and the Small Business Administration, the SBA, right? And for that reason, as Rocco mentioned again, our services are of no cost to anybody who uses them as long as they don't want them, right? And they're confidential as well. Meaning, I'm not going to go and share everybody's business ideas with the next person. And I think those two things right there are confidential and of no cost, right? So you can kind of think of the Small Business Development Center as a business advisor that you don't have to pay. We do have some things underneath the Small Business Development Center umbrella that can be very, very useful to people, not only as they get started, but if they're writing business plans and things like that, progressing down that new business route. We have one that I'll harp on and give shameless plugs all day long today. It's called the Market Research Center. I start with that one just because it's probably the most pertinent for tonight. And it's just that. It's a market research center. We have people, two people that have access to paid databases. Like if we wanted to go into those databases, you or I, we would normally have to pay for that information. But they pay for the information and then glean information for the people who ask questions from all those national paid databases and send you back an awesome report with all kinds of things embedded, whether it's different white papers or graphs or whatever it is. They embed all kinds of great things into the report. So as you're going through your business plan, and as we'll talk about it a little bit today, there's a lot of stuff that can go into a business plan. And if you're going through it and you run into a bump or you're not sure of what the industry is going to look like in 5 years or what the industry looks like right now in the business that you're trying to get into, this Market Research Center can help a lot with that. Does that make sense? We have some other people underneath the Small Business Development Center network. We have, it's not PTAC anymore, it's Apex Accelerator. They changed their name just recently. It's if you think that your product and or service would be something that the government, whether it be like state, local, municipal, whatever it is, would be interested in, these guys can help put your name in the hat, I guess, right? You need a few things that set in place before you can even put your name in for some of those jobs. And these guys can help you do that. They don't guarantee any jobs or anything like that or any work, but they can just help get you to that point to where you can put your hat in the ring, so to speak. We have, what are they called? So it's called the Apex Accelerator, APEX. Now I said that, so let's look right here. You pull out that second sheet. The people that are in charge of that are named to force, right? So yeah, you're looking at government contracting, all those types of things. That second piece that's in there, you can see it, has a lot of our, well, has all of us, have all of our names and kind of our expertise. So if you are starting a business and you're like, I really have a question about marketing or how to get my name out, social media, how to best use it, we have people on staff that can help us. Right? And more like, as Rocco was saying, I do a lot of bookkeeping strategies or assistance with setting up bookkeeping as you get started to make sure that it's where you want it to be as the business goes forward, right? A lot of people think of QuickBooks and stuff when they do that, but I talk about all and every accounting platform that's out there. So, yeah, we've got international trade, we have, bookkeeping, marketing, project management, risk management, cybersecurity, lots of things available at the SBDC's fingertips. And what's nice about it is if you decide, I want to talk to Rob some more, or I want to take advantage of any of those things that I just lathered on top, right? Is you sign up for our services and then you have access to everybody. Like just with this off of the app, which is pretty cool. You don't have like one, like in Utah, there's like 3 different ones. In Colorado, there's even more population based kind of, but so in Wyoming, you sign up, you have access to everybody. Any questions? Let's dive right in, right? So what we'll go over, I got to go fix this thing. I talked for too long and it froze up on me. Boom. All right. So what we're going to go over today, just a couple things that I like to kind of get the brain going a little bit on what does it mean to be an entrepreneur, building your business model, and then questions. So as you can see, I've got a few different things in there. One of them is the business plan itself. And it might look a little bit different. Some of them are colored and some of them aren't. And then there's that entrepreneurs helping entrepreneurs, that page with our name and everything on it. And then there is this other one that starts with customer segments. Now this is the business model canvas, and that's what we're going to go over a little bit as we start to think about stuff that needs to be put in your business plan. But before that, we'll go through a couple of different things. It's just kind of a fun thing that I like to think about. When you think of business ownership, what are the things you think of? What's an advantage of being your own boss? Okay. I didn't want to do this for you. Freedom to grow. Good. I came up, we have a few up here. What is it? We make your own decisions. I think we said that. Direct customer contact. Some people really, really like that, which is great. Personal satisfaction. We touched on that. Health and job security, creativity, and what you said. Doing what you enjoy, hopefully, right? Going into your business for yourself because you like it. And contributing to other success. She mentioned that. So unfortunately, we have advantages, but that means we have disadvantages. What are the disadvantages? Owning business. Correct. I would almost argue that it's not even just in the beginning. You're always going to be in there for a long time. You're right. Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah. What was it? Yeah, we need to get out. No better way to build a plane then, right? Right. Yeah, we don't want any more of that. Still not your own boss. What does that mean? Yeah, you like to think you're the boss, but if nobody comes in, doesn't do you any good, does it? Large financial risk, we talked about that, long and sometimes hard hours, not much spare time. Not always steady. Do you think, do we deal with that much in Wyoming? I think I'm not always a little thick or pulling. Yeah, I'm reading, they don't want to come right now.
and stay inside. That's right. The buck stops with you, right? No more, oh, I just work here. You're the boss now. People have a problem, they're coming to you. Doing the tasks that you don't like, what are those tasks? He nailed it on the first one, bookkeeping. That's usually the biggest one that I always get. It's very true. Not many people go into business to keep their records. They want to go into business to sell their widget or provide a service, not to keep their income and their expenses and deal with the big guy, if you will. Right. And then lots of some regulations. We talked about that a little bit. Okay, so we have some good news. 63,185 small businesses in Wyoming. Wyoming small businesses employ about 2/3 of the state's private workforce. Pretty cool. And Wyoming small businesses employers make up to about 96% of employers in the state. And firms with less than 100 employees make up the largest share of business employers. Makes sense, right? So one of my favorite questions that I like to ask here is, for SBA standards, how many employees can you have and still be considered a small business? Yes, sir. Okay. Actually more, believe it or not. Super good trick question. What? More. 500. Believe that? You can have 499 employees and still be considered a small business. So this graphic, sorry? No, that's national, actually. Yeah, it's an SBA standard. So this graphic, that 96% of employers, small businesses, that makes sense now, right? You have that many employees and still be considered a small business. So generally what your non-small, I don't know if they call them large business. What do they call them if they're not a small business? Corporation. Well, you can be a corporation technically as an entity and still only employ 10 people. Which, I don't know, that's getting out of the weeds. You ain't gonna worry about it. But anyway, so it makes sense, right? There's a little more of those small businesses than you would think because of the number of employees that you can have. Okay, so some, again, with good news, there's bad news. It's estimated that 30% of new businesses fail in the first 2 years and 50% of those close in the first 5. How come? Again? Part of it can definitely be a part of it. Burnout, be a big part of it. Going too fast. We're not growing fast enough. That's right. Didn't write a business plan. What? Just kidding. It's not stupid, but it is tonight. I just made that. Yeah, what's the old saying? What is that? Fail if you fail to the plan. No. What is it? Plan, fail. Something like that. Makes sense to me. What was that? Okay. Yeah, that's probably a good idea. You never know who's listening on YouTube. Good. Why else? Why else would a business not make it, you think? Not getting enough cash as they begin. I've seen that a lot. Okay. Or timing, you could even say timing in the market, maybe. Destroy. Good. Okay. So I kind of talked a little bit about that, get our brains going a little bit. Now I want to jump into that page that starts with customer segments. So these things, a lot of these things you'll see and how it will directly tie into writing a business plan. And on that right side, you can put some notes as you start to think about these things. The gears are turning, right? So what we want to do, we're going to talk about this and get you on that path of the business plan so we don't have to talk about the reasons why business failed. Get you on the right path from the beginning and hit the ground running. Any questions before we jump in? Easy. All right. So we're going to start here on this right side, and we're going to start with customer segments. So this is the whole thing together, put together kind of as the puzzle piece, right? And we're going to start here with customer segments. Now, customer segments, let's see if I can have it. Customer segments, it defines the different groups of people or organizations and enterprise aims and serve. What does that sound like? If we're thinking of a business plan, what does that sound like? Did anybody ever written a business plan in here? Let's start with that question. Once? Been there, done that? A couple times, one time, super fun or? That's the answer right there. Super fun. That's what we like. Anybody else? I didn't quite see. Okay. So, yeah, business plans can be monotonous, right? We're gonna see a lot of things as we go through and really look over that business plan. You'll see something like, oh, that looks a lot like what was in section 1 or section 3 or whatever it was, right? And that's kind of by design. Because a lot of the time, or some of the time, some bankers will look at just certain things, right? They'll look at just the financial plan, or they want to see the executive summary, or they want to see the marketing plan and how you're going to get your name out for something like that, right? Or when I say bankers, investors, somebody that you're trying to give your business plan to and ask for some money, right? And so a lot of the times you're going to see that. You're going to see one section has a lot of the same information as maybe the next page. Do you remember that? Does that sound familiar? It was kind of a little bit redundant, but not as redundant, right? Okay. Anyway, we're going to jump in and hopefully get those wheels turning. So customer segments. If you can see, it says it defines the different groups of people or organizations that enterprise aims to reach or serve. Another way that I like to think about that is called a target market. Has anybody ever heard that term before? What's a target market? Who? Okay, I got you. Right. So the target market is just like what it says on those customer segments, right? You could even write there at the side of that customer segments and say target market, right? The people that we're trying to get to. Now, when you're writing your business plan, if you look at page 7 in that business plan, right there on the top, it's of part B, market analysis. It says describe your target market. This is probably one of those sections that the bank will, or funding, they'll turn to. Why? Why do you think that's true? What do you think, Mr. Bankerman? Simple to make sure. And that target market is in the area, too, right?
Absolutely. They have a great product and service very well in the city on the. It's not here, maybe become a challenge, but just may be how the plan works.
Hey, here's another one of my favorite questions that I like to ask. Coca-Cola, everybody familiar with Coca-Cola, the brand Coca-Cola? What or who is Coca-Cola's partner? About percent. If you were Coca-Cola's executive and you were going to target to somebody, who was targeted?
say teenagers, young adults, and people like the experience.
You like the next thing, teenagers,
Children.
children, okay? Stores, okay? That's. Restaurants, stores. The business. I happen to actually know what it is. No, it's not true. It's actually 31 to 34-year-old females. Wow. The yield. Kind of. But along those lines, who usually goes to the store?
My parents.
Really? The 31 to 34-year-old females, the moms, the people who are buying food for the household, right? So they took something as big as Coca-Cola and bottlenecked it down to, I mean, obviously they're not gonna like check your age at the door, right? Like, you're 30, I'm not selling Coca-Cola to you, right? They'll sell to anybody, but the reason, why do you think they took it that small? They took it from 30,000 feet all the way down, bottom right there. I mean, if you bent my arm and made me choose, I'd say they probably did it.
Coca-Cola's started really. And in history of it.
What were you going to say?
And I think that instead of trying to put all the stuff into each individual citizen. I think that if I may have a higher volume of sales to their venues like restaurants, bars, grocery stores. And I have enough larger sell that way, they can all more cost to that particular customer. And everybody comes out of it instead of trying to say $2 on a bottle of Coke. They like restaurant, they sell it for 25 cents, restaurant sells it for 75 cents. And Coke still made a bottle for 25 cents a bottle, so that restaurant like 20 cases flip.
Your first point is what I was driving, because when you find the group of people that is most apt to buy your product, that's the people that you want to get your message to. That's the target market. That's the target that we're targeting, right? Again, go ahead. No, you're good.
So if they do this, I'm not sure, maybe with their marketing, if they start marketing to that, they specifically market like.
Yeah, and that, but that's right, because that's the target market, right? So if we are. So if we're trying to sell, I don't know, that doesn't work. Whatever our product is, if we know that there's a general age or that likes to buy that, that's who we want to get in front of, because they're the most apt to buy our product. Now, the residual stuff's gonna happen, right? Things are gonna come through social media, however it's going to happen. But like Facebook, right? You can say, well, I want this message to go out to 20 to 25-year-old males from 7 to 9 p.m. And if you pay for it, there's nothing they can do to not see it, right? Social media, all those types of things. You can kind of get it out and get your product in front of them that way. And so that's why I like to kind of use that example, is to be able to, what we want to do is take your target market from everybody, right? Because obviously you'll sell it to everybody, but you want to take it to the people that are going to not only buy it, but buy it again and again and again and again, right? We don't want just one-off customers. We want them to come back as many times as possible. Does that make sense? So what this target market, what it starts to get us thinking about, and I look at the questions to be answered over here from the customer segments, the target market. For whom are we creating value, and who are our most important customers? And that's what we're trying to answer. You can answer in those notes. Start to think about it a little bit. What do I think right now my target market looks like? I think we've talked about this before in many classes. I think you can have more than one segment. Is that fair? Does that make sense? Right? You can have maybe a younger population that you're targeting, but you could have a little older population as well. The target, right, or the way that you get to it might be a little different, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But I think you could have, I don't think you're gonna have like 25 different segments as a small business, but I think you could have a couple.
I think that, so we like, selling products.
Yes.
So like your different segments would be a different product.
Like a business in Rock Springs, we have some businesses in Rock, you know what I mean, that you wouldn't normally see in other places. Like in Rock Springs, there's an auto shop, and then in front there's a hair salon. It's in the same business, it's an auto shop, hair salon. The only place I've ever seen it, and there's always people. So you know, you're probably gonna have to have a couple different target markets if you have that type of a business, right? Just depending on your product and or service. I like it. Any other ideas, notes, questions? Yes, sir.
Your target market is commercial life, 26 and 8. So add up a little better that you play. I'll make you play that a little
Yeah.
better. Okay. Here's all these old types of life. And tell me your customers. 7, 8, and 10-year-old kids. So you're making products for that age range. But you also make other products that would appeal to more mature people, like old parts like myself. And the last another one of your products back. And then you also last one in between to cover between young kids and senior citizens.
Okay.
So I can work the target market.
That's a good question. I don't know, any ideas? I have an idea, but I don't know if it's the right idea or wrong.
I'll just throw it out there real quick, talking about, we got that plan in place. You know, having an income stream for one specific target. You're going to have a financial advisor or aid or something like that. You've got a couple of those pathways to the revenue streams. It's a bit more appealing. Because if one of them, like you mentioned earlier, you have a lot of seasonality here, one of them, so things work at summer times, not so much winter time, vice versa. So if you've got a couple of different avenues, I think that's kind of a place to your benefit.
I agree. Yes.
Question on, live stream.
Okay.
Your potential business of a restaurant. And target market.
I think that's the way that you think about those types of things, and this might even work for your question as well, right? If you try and have, you know, we're gonna try and go 7 to 10-year-old girls, well, 15-year-old girls, and then older people, middle age, you start to get really spread. The reason why we want to get it as narrow as we possibly can is, and well, I can answer that question, I think, with kind of like a market research channel stuff, right? Who is more than, I mean, if you think about a restaurant, right? You're not gonna say, okay, here's 10-year-olds, come to my restaurant, right? Who's gonna be taking them to the restaurant? Mom or dad, or grandma, or something like that. So you start to think about it kind of a little bit how it works at once. Same thing with the young girl, 7 to 10-year-old.
they're not gonna be able to do anything, that's all their dad locates it, sees it, and looks through it, and said, yeah, this is the product. Like I said, so we kind of start to think about it a little bit in that respect. But I think the market research center could help maybe narrow that down, maybe on the type of food, right? Who eats more pizza than whatever, those are the types of questions that the market research.
Who eats more pizza than the next person or, you know, Italian, whatever it is, right? So that market research center can help.
Did you break that one? Like those who are going to work really, or do you want something quick to go? Those who are home, want a place to sit, relax and eat. Or you're probably whatever. That fast. And there's also. The permanent.
I don't necessarily think that that's like a wrong way, but I do think that as you start to really stretch it out, like the things that I've seen in businesses, one of the things that made it so maybe a business didn't do as good as it possibly could have is it started in something, right? It had this really, really good product and or service, right? Or a couple of different things, like a coffee shop, right? They have really, really good coffee and really, really good those types of things surrounding that. But then it was actually the bakery got great cakes, really, really good at it. But then people come up to the door and it's like, yeah. Or you have coffee, you have sandwich. Why don't you have this? Why don't you have that? Why don't you have this? And so this person was like, yeah, I can do that. I can do that. And so instead of the reason, and they went from their home to an actual storefront because they were that busy with the bakery side of things. Because they got into the donuts, they got into the sandwiches. They started to pretty stretch themselves. And then they started doing one thing really well, and then they did a lot of things okay-ish. They did separate. So the more, I think sometimes the more that we try and get things out, sometimes we forget about what we do really well. And that's what we want to do with that target market, right? We have our product and or service, and we want to get that to the people who are most likely to come in and buy it and come back and buy it because of what we do. Those 1 or 2 reviews.
Speaking of that, right? It's kind of like Jimmy G's, they target it to the kids, but then target the birthday parties. We open the mess. Place to put it, you know, all you have to do is just show up, we'll do everything. So they're like, cool, if I can't, birthday party they like, I don't have to do. So they target to the children, but also. Yeah.
Right, children. Parents. Did you have another question?
Oh, I was just gonna, it sounds like to me you're trying to acquire as many customers. To produce your custom customer acquisition, that's what you do that is to get the person. Less than greater and less than family or whatever. Coffee shop maybe.
Yeah, and again, the reason why I said that is again, kind of thinking that way, right? Because a lot of the times when I was thinking before, you know, that was a few times where you're like, we should talk marketing. It's everything. Realistically, it's not, right? You're trying to get those people that most likely to come in and buy from you. And we've got to figure out what that is. Now that, I'm not saying that it's a super easy thing, like probably you're still having questions about what your target market is going to look like. But we can work through that, talk through that. And there's probably, again, even a chance that market research would help us. They're not going to be able to really tear it down and get us like an age range, whatever it is, right? But they can really help us kind of figure out and get pointed at least to that. That's not a bad idea. Glad you brought that up.
I don't have a lot, but I don't think that's a good idea. Just a quick survey, I mean, do we have somebody, are you at the chamber or downtown? Or neither, the city, or the city, everybody, okay. So the chamber, you might even be able to do something like that to the Chamber of Commerce, right? You could say, okay, well, here's, they can survey all their members or something like that and say, this is what somebody is thinking about, or this is what product it is, which should be more or less right. And or whatever, right? Be at this point. Yeah.
Okay, so. Back to city. That's that they get it straight to the customer, but we will buy it. So also, I'll do it.
We gotta have.
Doesn't relate. I can hear you fine, but it's really hard to hear other people.
Okay. You gotta yell. Oh, we do have a microphone.
Maybe it's okay, but.
After we're done, it's karaoke night. 6 to 8 is class, 8 to 10 is karaoke night.
I think I can point
They might come and shut it down, huh? All right. Any other questions? I think that was a good discussion. Any questions, thoughts, jabs, insults? Nothing? Not yet. We got, yeah, second night. Okay. Next one, value proposition. So you kind of have the talking points that I like to talk about on this paper. And I like putting them down because then you can see them just in case I want to talk. So, value proposition, kind of self-explanatory. Describes the bundle of products and services to create value for a specific customer segment. So we're going to try and tie it back in as we move through all of it, right? One of these things down there that I really like that it says is, and the value proposition is an aggregation or bundle of benefits the company offers customers. So to tie it into like the business plan, where you might actually put this value proposition is on page, it's early, it's on page 4. Value proposition, or maybe like a mission statement, right? What value do we deliver to the customer? Which one of our customers' problems are we helping to solve? That's probably the best one. Which one of our customers' problems are we helping to solve? So you're wanting to look at like a mission statement or a value proposition that is going to tell the customer segment, right, why they should come and buy it. Why your product and or service fills a need. Anybody ever seen the show Robots? Right? Remember Big Will? See it ability. I love that saying. Because it makes sense, right? Why does your product and or service fill the need that they have to go and buy the product or a product, right? And that's what your value proposition is. Answer, hopefully, right? We're going to fill that need or make it so what you have or writing about your product, why they want to come buy from you and not from your competitor or somebody else. That's what your value proposition is. That makes sense? Fairly straightforward, right? We're looking at kind of the mission statement. Talks about the business description there on page 4. That's kind of where those two can intertwine. Anything else? Okay, move to the next one. Hopefully I have them in the right. Oh, sure. For now, anyway. I want to get ahead of myself. Channel, another way that we're going to kind of think about channels, which channels do our customer segments want to be reached, right? Describes how a company communicates with and reaches its customer segments to deliver said value proposition, right? So one of the things that you can look at is basically, that's like your marketing strategy, right? How are you going to get your name out to your target market? The marketing strategy is in free on page. Eight. Right? Present a clear and concise picture of how you plan to market or sell your product and service and how these strategies will produce profits. So what type of channels are used now in business to get their word out? Yes, sir.
Minimal expense of market. Advertising.
Word of mouth's a good one.
He's done it. He's done it. Social media, Google. Yeah. This is startup. Probably the biggest one maybe is right now would be kind of along the social media line, I would guess, right? Is that fair? What about like, printed material? Business cards, business cards, so like magazines, newspaper. What do you think? Yes or no?
It's not harsh, but it's meant to pay that the auto. Social media is taken, but what usually it's back. Unless you have the, I think taps you it, it's that. Social media is much easier if everybody has one every day. And especially a platform like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, we can yeah, you know. And why not? It's more simply easier than trying to go from and that's
Yeah. That would be safe. Depends on your target market, right? So. I don't want to make anybody mad, but if I'm trying to get to an older demographic. Right? Would Facebook be probably the best way to do it? Right? So I like that. It depends on your target market, right? My parents on Facebook, it's fun. Anyway. One of those, that's why newspapers and magazines are still around, because there's still people that use them. Now, I agree, they are, this is what I think, you know, we can have a discussion on it. I agree that it is kind of on its way out, but I also do think that it's still there a little bit. And it's all we.
I'm gonna bring up, the act because market. Years ago, I had this, and it's not on mark. I'm gonna show age here. We had 12 books. I pulled paper notebook, and I went and put the business side, color added the old pages, like pages. I also had a little flip on the internet. And believe it or not, I kept score of where I was getting most of my customers.
Which is a good idea.
And 80% was word of mouth. And I was laying out literally $200 a month in advertising.
My tower. Oh, I'm like, am I out of time already?
Maybe try to limit comments or questions.
Okay. When do you want me to be done by? Oh, I have it now.
Yeah. I may for an hour,
Okay.
but not necessarily to be here.
I can go back for anybody.
If it's a very.
Oxford.
The apps and the flyers.
Yeah, that's what I really like. A lot of times.
Yeah. I mean, what you need to.
Yeah, that's great. And I would argue that that's probably kind of like a word of mouth, right? But yeah, for sure. Any way that you can get that name out. But and the reason why, again, to tie back into the customer segment and all those types of things, the reason why we do that is because from what we've got, our value proposition, we need to get it to our customer segment, right? So you know our customer segment, know how they like to be communicated with, and then use that. So being able to really hone that in helps us to get the word out better to the people. That makes sense. And that's why in that page 8, it says present a clear and concise picture of how you plan to get that name out of the business plan. Sorry. Does that make sense? Other questions? Good. All right. Customer relationships. Describe the types of relationships the company establishes with specific customer segments. That's pretty self-explanatory, right? What type of relationship does each of our customer segments expect us to establish and maintain with them? Right? The company should clarify the type of relationship it wants to establish with each customer segment. Relationships can range from personal to automated. So what we're going to do with this, it's along the same type of deal with our value proposition is how are we going to, and in the same part that we look at the channels, how are we going to get our name out right there, right? And to our customer segments, and then how are we going to keep that relationship and or acquire that relationship? Does that make sense? And that can be, we can talk a little bit about. I would almost even say that you could put a little bit of that in the target market, right? For products and services aimed at consumers on page 7, you describe their general demographic characteristics. How large is the market? Those types of things. And then how are we going? It all comes kind of hand in hand, right? How is that value proposition going to be relayed to them? And then how are we going to acquire them and keep them coming back? Does that make sense? It's a lot of information to go over as we start. All right, let's go and look at the next one. Oh, this might be where I get out a little bit. We're gonna have to skip a page and go to revenue streams. Again, we've already kind of talked about that a little bit. Revenue streams is basically how does our business bring money in, right? The cash the company generates from each customer segment, right? Or what are some of the ways, well, when we start thinking about those revenue streams, we talked about it a little bit. What type of product and or service? And then what I also think a little bit, and this is going to tie into another one, are the costs associated. When we're bringing money in, people need to start thinking about like merchant services, right? How much is that going to cost to accept a credit card? How much is that going to cost to run gift cards or anything? That's kind of a little bit of what these revenue streams are. But I think the biggest part is where that money is going to come from. What is going to be, what we're going to sell or the service, right? And then how we're going to collect them. When we start to think about that, that'll be a little bit on that financial plan on page, latter pages. Well, how we're going to make money, the costs of all of them, cash flow projections, all that. We're going to come up and to go along kind of with that revenue stream, the market research center, again, right? The shameless plug that I covered a lot. They can help if you're new to the industry or even want to just know what people are charging for the same type of product or service that you have, these guys can give you that price. Whether it be hourly, per job, whatever it is. Yeah, it's the national database. You can even say, I want to know the average of what. Making things up, right? I want to know the average of what a master plumber can charge per hour on arriving on a job in Utah, Idaho, Wyoming, Colorado. Whatever. Yeah, or you could say western half of the United States, or you can say all of the United States, whatever. Right? And they can go out and glean that information, find the information available if you need, right? And that's what that recommendation is. Okay. All right, so now we'll go back a page to key resources. And these are the types of things, describes the most important assets required to make a business model work. Right? So what are some key resources that you could think of that you might need in your business? And as it says down there in that second paragraph, right? Key resources can be owned or no, the one next. Key resources can be physical, financial, intellectual, or human. What does that mean? Key resource can be human. Mhm. I like it. Well, what could be a key resource in election?
Certification.
A lot of the times out at those like Soleil and those big places, somebody will kind of work there for a long, long time, and then they'll want to retire. And then they'll say, okay, but I want you to come back as a consultant because you have 30 years of this intellectual knowledge that I need you to pass on to the next person to take your job. So that would be a key resource for those big businesses.
Actually have to be licensed, not just.
Yeah, if they have to be licensed. Good. Next one, key activities. These kind of are kind of hand in hand as well, right? They describe the most important things as a company must do to make its business model work. So, important actions a company must take to operate successfully. What could some key activities be, even in the business that you're thinking of doing? Some things that you,
Should they check all the, it's like, not skipping over the things that might not be. Make sure you check all the boxes, make sure that it's all covered.
like I said, it'll be different for different businesses, right? Key activities, if you have a product, one of your probably real key activities would be to make sure that you have a supplier. And one that will keep you supplied. Right? And that kind of dips into this next one with the key partnership. Same type of thing, right? Describe the network of suppliers and partners that make the business model work. Supplier, pretty self-explanatory, right? Could be customer. Partnership, you gotta have a good relationship with your customers. Could be employees, right? Business coach, right? All business development center. Right? Could be any of those. Any alliances that you set up with whoever it might be to, your banker, that's a key partnership. Your CPA, key partnership. Lawyer, key partnership. Downtown chamber. Whoever's going to help move your business forward could be a good key partnership. Okay, we're gonna go to the last one here. And then we're gonna dive into the meat of the business plan. As we go on that. Oh, cost structure, right? Describes all costs incurred to operate a business model. The way that I like to think and kind of start to get to think is kind of twofold. Cost structure, what am I going to charge people for my business or product or service? And then what, if it's a product, what do I get it for? Right? Where am I going to start building my cost structure for how much it costs me? What type of margin do I want? Moving forward that way to be able to show it in the business plan. Does that make sense?
This is gonna take you out of the product that you're doing. Shipping.
Yeah, all of it. All of it, labor, direct material, all that stuff. Good. Any questions over that? What that hopefully started to do, right, is just, as I mentioned in the beginning, just start to get going real quick. Okay, these are the type of things that's going to be included in that business plan. And you start thinking about that, right? How am I going to start filling those gaps in this? Now, there it is again. We'll jump right into this business plan outline unless we have anything online or anything. Oh, okay. All right. So see if David's ever seen this before. Ernie's business plan fails to impress the loan officer. All it said was sell stuff, right? So I was a business banker for a couple of years before I took this position. You'd be surprised how many times that happened. And I've had it even before we get in this position. Baker calls me up, hey, I have somebody, they have a business plan, but I need more information in it. And then the person called me and said, a business plan all done, but for some reason they think I need more information. So anyway, I'm like, well, bring it in or send it to me and I'll take a quick look. And like the entirety of the business plan was like 3/4 of the page. That's the financial plan. That's the everything, right? I was like, all right, we need to put a little more information in. So these are your general components. Business plan. I'll just talk a little bit about this outline that I have in front of us right now. The reason why I like this outline is because as you can go through, and you might have already perused through it a little bit. If you go through and get through kind of the fluff on the introduction and why write a business plan and everything, you get to kind of where we're at, the cover page or components of the business plan. Then you get to number 1, the executive summary on page 4. And it starts, each section has a little blurb at the beginning that says, okay, written last, by far the most important part of your business plan is the executive summary. To me, that makes sense, right? In order to summarize something, you first need to kind of have it written, right? And then you can summarize with it. But it starts to ask the questions, what stage of development, where are you located, who are the principals, what is your business, who's your primary target market. Those type of things will all be in your executive summary. The first thing that you can kind of start with, I guess, is that part 2, the business description. And what I was driving at, the reason why I like this template is because as you go through, it says, okay, you may want to start with the mission statement, explaining the reason for being, guiding principles of the business. How does it align with sustainability concepts and all that type of stuff? The next one, where are you located? Why is that important? Part B for startup, is your business a startup, acquisition, or expansion? Why did you decide to open, expand, purchase this business? I like the question because it gives you a jumping off, right? A lot of the times, I think you have the business plan. The word document. Yeah, sorry.
I thought you were.
You give it to us last.
It should be the same. And so I can send it to you if I need to, but we can send it electronically. And a lot of the times I'll just tell people to say, just answer the questions. And then when those questions are answered, delete the question And then there's your history of the business. Right? I decided to open and expand first business because Evanston really, really needed one, or I've been working in the industry for 10 years. And I'm my own, whatever, right? Whatever the answer. Same thing with vision and future plans. What is your overall vision of what the business will look like and accomplish once the company is fully developed? What do you predict your business will be doing in the next 5 years? All those types of things, industry trends. Yes, sir.
If you go to jumpstartevanston.org. And you can top right, all of this is in our resource center and helps.
Resource center, top right. Yeah, jumpstart is another. Now, you don't like to write on. Industry trends. What are the industry trends in your business? What are the trends in your industry or in relation to sustainability? All those types of questions that are in there. Those are the types of things I think where the market research can really figure out that. Market research center, right? If you're not sure what it looks like in the next 3, 5, 10 years, but you want to put that information in here to show, hey, this business is good and it's looking good for the near future. That's what that market research center can do. Right? It goes through a little bit more organization and ownership. What type of business you're going to set up. Management personnel and advisors. First sentence there. In essence, a loaner investment is made to the business owners, not the business, right? So this management personnel and advisors got a place where you can just count yourself. Why should Jumpstart Evanston look at your business to give you a little bit of this money, right? You've got to be able to kind of prove to them or tell them or show them why you deserve some of that, or not necessarily them, but any investor, any banker will want to know why they should invest in you. And that's their place to do that. Page 6, the marketing plan. We already talked a lot about this, right? Clarify exactly what your business offers and your plans for the future direction of the business. And then each bullet point is just a question. Some of these you're not going to have an answer to every bullet point, right? Or it may we'll get there. The next page. So if you go to page 7, we talk about the primary target market, right? But then down there it says the product and services aimed at consumers. It's this. And then the next one is the product and services aimed at businesses. Answer these questions. So you'll figure out, okay, well, I'm selling direct to consumer, so I'm going to fill out this top portion, and then I'm not going to learn about filling out the business portion. Then I'll move to the next one. Competitive analysis, right? Sorry, I'm going kind of fast. Any questions? Very straightforward as you start looking at it and seeing those questions.
So let's say there's a selling service that just means that you are business.
Yeah, and you could even maybe technically kind of come in a little bit. But like I said, you just want to put the most pertinent information on there. Sometimes, and I think it's a little bit of a fallacy that people think like the more information that you put in a business plan, the better the business plan is. I don't think that's technically true. Anybody want to fight with me on that one? I think the most pertinent information is the best information, right? And we don't need it all up and 3 pages worth. You can get that same information in a paragraph, whatever it is. That's what I. Is that fair? Yes, sir.
Say you're going to go for a small business, and you've got a 4-page package, or where do you go with that? So they're not really going to want to sit there. That's true.
I don't know how the banker, I had a lot of time in Maybe I was bad. Maybe I was bad. Okay. Competitive analysis, again, it's pretty straightforward. It goes through there. Competitive analysis. You're trying to competition, both direct and indirect. You can kind of spell out a little bit what indirect competition is, right? Very simple. Location analysis, pricing scheme, sales volume potential. I have heard that this part E on page 8 is a little misleading, right? If you're saying that I am getting into the bicycle industry, and the bicycle industry is a $1.2 billion industry in the United States in 2023. If I can only get 1%, one measly percent of the bicycle industry, that means that right there I would get insert correct math answer. But, right, you know what I mean? So a lot of people, I think, use that. Well, if I can just get 1%, if I can only just get realistically, right? We don't have 1% of the biking industry in this. So we've got to make sure that on that sales volume potential that we're realistic and kind of include some numbers on your target market. The Market Research Center can find the demographic and the psychographic information in this area. And that information can be used. Marketing strategies, we already talked about that. Page 8 present a clear and concise picture of how you plan to market your product or service. And how you start to produce a product. Some of these ones, I don't, again, some of these ones on page 9 are probably going to just go out. Positioning, that's not a bad one, but packaging, if you're selling a service, you might argue, well, I'm not packaging. This is talking about you present your product and services in the marketplace, that your packaging as minimal as possible. What image will you convey? All those types of things. Is your packaging made from recycled or renewable resources? Yeah, I don't know. Some of the things, again, just to reiterate, some of the things you're probably not going to use from here. I like the promotion, advertising, direct selling. Describe how your market will learn about your products and services. Again, that's a lot of what we talked about in marketing strategies on page 8. It's a little bit more of a redundancy, but what you see here out this. But the service side of the handle, right? The operations plan on page 10. This one is the plan varies greatly, but I actually like this section, the 4th section, because you're basically just saying, okay, this is my plan. This is where I am. This is what I need to do to get to where the opening, and this is basically how I'm going to do it. In the implementation plan, that's what it says. Explain the tasks and events which must first be accomplished to implement the business plan. So you say, go to class, get money, get a spot, get my inventory open, whatever it is. I like that because it kind of sets it out. It says, this is where I'm at. This is where I want to be, right? I want to be opening. How am I going to get there? What are the steps that I need to get there? And it makes you think about it. Makes you put it down on paper. It's a lot different when it comes up here. It says it's a paper. But it makes you, start to think things already think about it. And that's a lot of what it is. Materials and source of supply, pretty self-explanatory. And then this is another one, right? Methods of production, manufacturing on page 10. Then if you flip it over on page 11, methods of production for sales or operation or retail. So it'd be kind of, you pick one or the other, build one out of whichever fits your business. Record keeping, we talked about that. A lot of these things in the operations plan is just to make sure that you thought about it, right? You thought about record keeping. How are you going to do it? You're going to keep an Excel worksheet. I had somebody, did you know, they came in my office and they good for you. Good for you. That is long and hard, unnecessary work in my mind. But not every business, right? If we start thinking about record keeping, not every business is ready for $100 a month accounting. Nor is it that. As an accounting or an Excel worksheet or something like that, it's plenty, but we can have it. But
What is your feeling, if you're gonna do that on a computer, back up even furniture to this? Because. So,
like, is it a good idea?
yeah,
Well, it depends on how you go, right? If you go on the cloud, then you don't need to do that. It doesn't sell, and it keeps the information on. But if you
what happened? Crashing. You lose all that stuff about
not, well, they're not supposed to be able to, right?
it. That's the word.
You should be able to get it from any other internet connection. Phone. But like when they had it on the desktop, that was definitely a thing. You saved it as an external drive.
And this. Like this. Fashion. Low. All. So 5 weeks. And I can't see.
Just look at Wave. Apps.com. The HTTPS.com. It's a free online accounting platform. It's not as robust as QuickBooks, but it's definitely. And it's free, which is. I can. And you can report, you know, what make a profit and loss and balance sheet. Then you can sign it. Again, go down to risk management and just making sure that you've thought of the insurances that you're going to need, general liability, whatever else. You know, insurance on the people that they're driving a truck or something like that, right? Have the proper insurances for the business. Got legal issues, making sure there's need permits or licenses. And get that taken care of. All right, last but not least, then we'll be open for questions or anything else can get done. Is the financial plan. The purpose of this section is to attack all of the to the plan we presented. This is probably the biggest part of the financial. And it's where people have the hardest time coming up with numbers. So they're kind of just, they're called projections, right? So when you think of the financial plan, you've got budgets, and then that part C is cash flow projections. And that's the hardest part for people because I tell people, you know, in a projection, I can make you a millionaire really, really fast. Like super fast, first month, even peak, right? We're done, let's retire. But those projections, and I've got, is that in there, you know? Is my cash flow projection working in there, like Excel worksheet? It's probably called. Okay, maybe I'll try and send that to you too. But it's a big 8-tab Excel worksheet that can help build projections for a 3-year profit and loss and then a first year batch. It's pretty cool. You can just kind of see how things flush out. If you make this much money, you got this many expenses, you put in this much equity, bank loan or some money from John Star Evanston, this is what it might look like. And a lot of the times when I'm talking with people, this is where I start. The financial, right? Because this is probably the biggest obstacle as you get started. Right? Especially if your product or your business is products heavy, right? You need to buy a lot of widgets to be able to make it. Inventory, that's what I think. Right? If you need a fairly sizable influx at the beginning, that's where we need to figure out where that's going to come from and how we're going. That's a lot of other talking about. the Excel worksheet that I have will pretty much mark off B, C, and D. I like to fill out part A because it talks about the purpose of the loan amount requested, how you're going to use those funds, how you're going to repay it, and then the collateral that you may. And then that cash flow projection worksheet can come in and get the rest of it. And the reason why I like that is because a lot of bankers or investors, this is the first part, flexibility. That's fair. That's fair assessment. Because they were just like me, like numbers, and they want to see what they're going to pay back. Correct? So that was like a ton of information in an hour and a half. Questions, ideas, thoughts? Yes, sir.
So in your experience reading business plans, what is okay to use or like paragraph, like, have you want to?
I think whatever you do, just keep it consistent. Because I've seen bullet points, numbers, and then I've seen go to paragraphs, and I've seen go back to this. As long as you're consistent and it's clean, I'm weird. I like the clean ones. What that mean? Concise,
Keep it simple. Just makes sense.
It's,
simple, and concise.
if you say there was,
Yeah.
start, I mean,
Yes, sir. So it's the same thing that you have, it's just an online version or a Word document, what actually. Yeah,
fill it out on there and save it.
exactly. And so with that too, I'll do another shameless plug for the Small Business Development Center, right? So I do a lot of this. I look at business plans. I see a lot of them come across. Yes. We review with notes. I want to help you guys put your best foot forward as much as I possibly can. So please call, email, text.
I had another question about, we use an AI to create business plans.
It's there. Right? You can use it.
I mean, if we start,
We've had this discussion with this. It's hard to say, you know, I can only imagine being a teacher, right? And do the same thing. I need to write a presentation paper about this.
the teachers are using extra credit papers.
Do that.
The teachers use it.
That's right, probably. Or they should if they're not. Yeah, I mean, I think with the AI, you could take it and look at it and see how it writes it, and then I would probably, again, go through, review it, make sure it's in, you know, the verbiage that makes sense to whoever's writing it. Because what you're gonna have to do, especially in this, is you're gonna have to mitigate every point that you have in your bid. So if something else right, you're not sure how to flesh that out with the person that's asking questions.
Yeah, just one more.
Yeah, that's right. Hang on.
So I actually done that a little bit.
Okay.
Just to get ideas and see how different things. So I used to that, some of the stuff I took.
But it could definitely be a help, maybe,
Yeah.
maybe more so,
Be very specific.
yeah, maybe more so a help maybe more than it is write the whole thing. Unless you're really, really good with it. That's,
Back that's. Relationships.
okay.
And I don't know. That's why I'm spending a few minutes. After your product service. Why they. Kind of get the whole. Kind of like. It's very beneficial. And like with some of my suppliers, I had some that I could call up to order something. And they would have that line listed for certified because I built it before. They've actually not done it.
You're swimming, huh?
I ordered a coat for a customer. asked the young lady, because I got my regular representative. But the alarm that one, she got to 21%. Just for the relationship. You know, too many this will go in and, be a service or, they give you your money, they provide whatever, they give you your money and they're done, so almost like, we shall.
Yeah.
All I was gonna do.
Right.
That. My favorite joke I have is you can do 10,000 attaboys on a job and 10,000 people here. You make one mistake on one job for the whole United States.
Yeah. Especially now.
Yeah.
I agree.
Oh, nice. Good. So you can get it off of the catch-all worksheet that I was talking about, you can get it off of Jumpstart or
/.
And again, my service, no cost, confidential. If you have questions, about anything that I said tonight, or something that you wish I would have said. I just passed out a little seminar evaluation that helps us, or helps me know if it was too boring or if it was too boring, and then kill me. That's it. That's all I have, unless we have any other questions. Answer them all.
Now, why did that there is quality of presenting Scott? Very good down, very poor, but you don't have a spot mark very good.
Oh, we should have taken out the spots in Mark Perry for.
Oh, the babies are very.
Oh, I don't know. Let's see.
Oh, so the B is very good, they said. Oh. Okay,
Oh, I can see what he said, but it says VG is very good.
yeah, so we,
Yeah, maybe the G just got.
Next. And you have my card in front of this. You have my card, my cell phone, my email, everything. That number right there is a cell phone. Text me, call me.